It's a first after the abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir. A delegation of 23 European parliamentarians is in Kashmir to assess the ground situation and to have a first-hand look at what life is like on the ground. This is the first international delegation to visit the valley after the Article 370 scrapping. This visit also comes at a time when Pakistani terrorists continue to target civilians and try to stoke tensions. The delegation arrived in Srinagar at 11:45 a.m. and headed to the Army's 15 Corps headquarters, where they were briefed on Pakistan's role in fueling terror. The EU MPs are also meeting with a delegation of Sarpanches. They will also meet the Jammu and Kashmir governor and his advisors. The EU team will also visit the famous Dal Lake and attend a dinner hosted by the Jammu and Kashmir Chief Secretary later this evening. The team originally comprised 27 MPs, but 4 did not travel to Kashmir and have reportedly returned to their respective countries. Let's listen in first to what some of those EU MPs have said before leaving for Srinagar earlier this morning.
It's a good opportunity for us to come here and first-hand hear what the situation is in Kashmir, how the changes are going to be affected, and also for us now to go into Kashmir as a foreign delegation and to be able to see first-hand for ourselves what is happening on the ground.
He received us as members of European Parliament, but first he speak about Indian people. He speak about the level of life, the progress of many things who make the quality of the life, and it was not a speech like sometimes with philosophy, but very concrete, and in fact it was the real life, and very quiet person, impressive, honestly.
This is the hotel where this delegation of European parliamentarians is staying, and as you can see, some of the people have started coming in and meeting them. Most of these people in these vehicles are members of panchayats, panches and sarpanches, who have been called in here, and they are going in and they will meet this panel of parliamentarians. Some of them are also members of the Block Development Council, who have been recently elected in certain blocks. So overall, this visit at this point of time, seeing some people coming in, most of them, as I was pointing out, panchayat members from various villages in Kashmir Valley. With cameraman Roof Shujaul Haq in Srinagar for India Today.
Now, the Modi government's decision to allow members of European Parliament to assess the ground situation in Jammu and Kashmir has sparked a big political row, because leading the attack is former Congress President Rahul Gandhi, who questions EU MP's visit and asked why no Indian MP has been allowed to visit the valley so far. Remember, Rahul Gandhi was famously turned back when he tried to visit as well. Asaduddin Owaisi too has taken a jibe at the EU MPs. He in fact called them Islamophobic. Other leaders like Priyanka Gandhi and Mayawati too have slammed the government's decision to take them there. Mehbooba Mufti's daughter Iltija Mufti, she's not a politician, but she has targeted the centre and expressed hope that the EU team gets a chance to interact with locals and civil society groups in the valley.
We are a democracy. Our own members of parliament and leaders of the opposition have been denied permission to visit Jammu and Kashmir. When the leaders of the parliamentary parties of the opposition went to Srinagar, I was also part of that delegation, we were detained at the airport. But this motley group of MPs of the European Parliament, they are not parliamentarians of their own parliament, which has been collected, is a national embarrassment, because they represent ideologies and viewpoints which are in conflict with the very concept of inclusive democracies. They belong to fringe groups, highly controversial.
कुछ लोगों को रोने का रोग लग गया है, और ये तमाम ऐसे अज्ञानी लोग हैं जिनके दिमाग में निगेटिविटी भरी पड़ी है, नकारात्मकता भरी पड़ी है। वो सकारात्मक चीज़ें सोच ही नहीं सकते, और ऐसे रोने के जो रोगी हैं उनका हम क्या इलाज कर सकते हैं।
आप एक यूरोपियन यूनियन के डेलीगेशन को, और वो डेलीगेशन में भी वो लोग शामिल हैं जो बिल्कुल दक्षिणपंथी पार्टियों से जुड़े हुए हैं, आप उनको जम्मू कश्मीर जाने की अनुमति दे रहे हैं। तो इसका ये मतलब है कि एनडीए भाजपा सरकार भारत के संसद की अवमानना कर रही है और ये बहुत ही संवेदनशील मुद्दा है।
I think it's a matter the opposition parties need to ponder over. I would urge them to introspect rather than use this as yet another political tool.
Can the Prime Minister entertain an MPs who come on the invitation of NGO? I'm really shocked. It is not a European, official European members of parliament delegation. It is not. That is the fact. This is a clear sign of desperation on the part of Modi government that you could not get a official delegation. So some NGO calls all these MPs and you take them to visit Valley. Please understand that this is a clear sign of desperation, clear sign of confusion that the government does not know. The government now must accept that what they have done in Kashmir is wrong.
अगर विपक्ष के सांसदों को जाना है, घूमने जाना है, श्रीनगर जाना, गुलमर्ग जाना हो, को कश्मीर की वादियों में घूमना हो, डल लेक में जाना हो, जाएं वो। हमने तो टूरिज्म को बढ़ावा दिया है। और जो ईयू के सांसद हैं, जब उन्होंने भी आना चाहा, हमारे पास कुछ छिपाने को होता तो हम कहते नहीं, अभी हम नहीं बुला सकते। हमारे पास तो अब अच्छा बताने को है। पूरी दुनिया को संदेश गया है कि जम्मू कश्मीर के अंदर जो प्रोपेगेंडा हो रहा था पूरी दुनिया में कि अब वहां शांति है, अमन है। कांग्रेस के नेताओं को भी शांति देखनी हो तो जाएं।
मुझे यूरोपियन यूनियन के लीडरों के जाने पर कोई आपत्ति नहीं, लेकिन आपत्ति इस पर है कि अपने देश के एमपीज को जम्मू कश्मीर में तो जाने नहीं दिया। उसके बाद मैंने जम्मू एक हफ्ते की कोशिश की, जम्मू में भी 4 घंटे एयरपोर्ट पर हमको रोका गया, बाहर भी नहीं निकलने दिया। जम्मू कश्मीर के चौथे चीफ मिनिस्टर को दिल्ली में रखा और यूरोपियन यूनियन को वहां से लेकर कश्मीर ले रहे हो।
Okay, I want to go across, introduce first all of our guests. We've got Syed Zafarul Islam of the BJP. We have Gohar Gilani. He's an author and a political analyst joining us live from Srinagar. First, I want to go across to Shuja ul Haq. Shuja, what is the, what's happening right now with that delegation? There's a huge flashpoint over the composition of this delegation, over certain MPs from this delegation who have turned down the invitation and gone back to their countries. Some of them who had the invitation cancelled. What is the current situation on the ground with them? Are they carrying on peacefully with their own agenda on the ground in Srinagar?
Well, Shiv, as far as their plan is concerned, they seem to be carrying on with it.
Okay, Shuja, just give me a moment. I'm just going to come to you in a second because we have EU Member of Parliament Chris Davies on the phone line with us. I just want to tell you why we have him on the phone line with us. He's a European Member of Parliament. Chris Davies has claimed that he was first invited on this trip as part of this delegation that is visiting Jammu and Kashmir, and then the invitation was cancelled. In response to India Today's email, Chris Davies says that he was first invited to visit Kashmir along with the EU delegation. However, he claims that after he sought unaccompanied visitation in Kashmir and the freedom to speak to whoever he wanted to, the invitation was abruptly withdrawn, he says. The member of the EU Parliament claims that he wanted to visit the valley freely and wanted to meet locals, but he was denied the same and never heard back after that from the organizers. Chris Davies joins me on the phone line from the United Kingdom. Chris, thanks for being with us. Can you take us through the sequence of events, Chris, of how this happened? You say the invitation was first extended to you, and then when you said you would like unaccompanied access and the freedom to speak to whoever you wanted to, they just went silent after that? Is that what happened?
you summarised it quite well. I was surprised to get this invitation because it seemed to me that it stressed the fact this would be a VIP visit to meet the Prime Minister and other dignitaries, and an opportunity to briefly visit Kashmir. And it suggested to me that this was very much an effort to promote the Indian government's point of view. And yet I have spoken in the European Parliament to express my concerns about the Indian government's actions and about the situation in Kashmir. And so I was surprised to get an invitation of this kind. As you say, I said I'd like to accept the invitation, but I would like the opportunity to meet with ordinary people in Kashmir, perhaps accompanied by journalists and not by police officers or military personnel. And within 48 hours, the invitation was withdrawn on the grounds that the party was full. Now, that may or may not be the case. I cannot say, but I'm suspicious about it.
Chris, had you been on this visit, had you been on this delegation, you would perhaps have been, among a very small percentage or a small handful of MPs on this delegation who weren't from a far right or a right-wing political organization or party. What is your reading of that? Because that's something that analysts are talking about a lot, the composition of this delegation.
Yeah, well, that's a surprise to me too, because it wasn't clear when I received the invitation who else was being invited, and I am of course conscious that opinions in the European Parliament are divided. There are and within the political groups too. I have colleagues who strongly support the Indian government position, and others who are concerned about it and who suggest that perhaps like myself that it may well be that the government will come to regret having taken this action, because it doesn't seem to me that some of what we hear back from Kashmir, not simply the communications difficulties, but also imprisonments and curfews and military rules and such like, it's not the best way to endear a people to its own government. So all I can say is I had no idea that the delegation that would eventually travel to India was so clearly of a right-wing persuasion. And I'm surprised really, because even, as I say, even within the political groups, I don't see why that should necessarily, maybe I don't understand my European politics enough, but I don't understand why that should necessarily be the case. I don't see why the right wing should support the Indian government more than more than others.
Would you share the assessment by critics of this government and the opposition here in India that the members of parliament who have finally been chosen for this particular visit have been specifically picked, with the expectation that they will be sympathetic to what they see on the ground and support what the Indian government has done there?
Well, that may be the case, but I suppose you will only know when you hear the comments from the members who've met with the Prime Minister and other senior ministers and who've been to Kashmir. If you find that those members come back and take an objective and critical view of the situation, then perhaps we can relax and say this is all perfectly fair and objective.
Chris, is there any reason to believe they are, after all, elected representatives? Is there any reason to believe that there won't be a fair assessment? I mean, they are, after all, public representatives.
As I say, I'm not going to pass judgment on that. I think you have to hear their own words.
Okay. You've had a pretty strongly worded statement, Chris, where you've said that I'm not ready to participate in a PR stunt for the Modi government and to show that all is well. Is that an assessment that has simply been taken already, despite this being the first delegation to have visited there?
Just the nature of the invitation suggested to me that this was a highly restricted visit in which we would hear one side of the debate only. We certainly wouldn't get the chance to talk to independent Kashmiri voices, be they political, if those who are not imprisoned, or the people on the street. So I'm afraid from the very beginning I was suspicious of this invitation. But of course, to have an opportunity to actually if it was a genuine opportunity to actually meet with people in Kashmir, it's not something I would wish to refuse. But that opportunity has not arisen.
But wouldn't it have been, I'm simply thinking out loud here, Chris, but wouldn't it have been, more useful if you had perhaps included yourself in the delegation, had a chance to actually go there and see for yourself whether it was going to be a one-sided affair rather than judge it just based on the invitation?
Okay, well, let me be honest. I suppose when I replied to the invitation saying I would like to come, but I would like the opportunity to meet with ordinary people without so they could speak freely to me, I suppose I was testing the organisers.
Right.
And they failed the test because they suddenly found a reason for me not to accompany them.
Chris Davis, thanks very much for speaking to India Today. That is Chris Davis of the Liberal Democratic Party, one of the MPs who was actually invited for this visit. He was supposed to be a part of this delegation, and he's put out a strongly worded statement and he's defended it, and he says, I didn't want to be part of a PR stunt. I'm going to go across first to Syed Zafarul Islam of the BJP, and Gohar Gilani is also with us live from Srinagar. Syed, to you first. The voice you just heard was Chris Davis of the Liberal Democratic Party. He was one of the EU members of Parliament who's actually turned down, I mean, he's not turned down the invitation, but when he said, let me speak to people freely when I go to Srinagar, the organizers didn't get back to him. That sounds really odd, Syed. Why didn't the organizers reach out to him after he said that?
I mean, well, that's one side of a story. The other side of a story that has never been invited. I mean, the government of India does not even aware that the invitation was extended to him. So forget about what mail he was referring to, who has written mail, who he has interacted with, is something which he is claiming, which we are not even aware of. So though there is no question of anybody who has been invited, their invitation has been withdrawn just because he had XYZ reason.
Okay.
The reason why they have been taken there, all the propaganda against the country is being propagated and populated by Pakistan and from all the embassies as well as the foreign media, and something which needs to be punctured. And that is the only way it can be punctured, because it's an initiative of the government. It's a diplomatic initiative where the diplomats or the representative of the government, people or the government must come and see from their own eyes that the situation in Kashmir is absolutely peaceful.
Okay, I want to deal with two quick issues.
There are some people who are unnecessarily propagating the bad news.
I want to deal with two small issues and then I'll get Gohar Gilani in. Syed, on the one hand, there is a debate over the fact that the composition of this Member of Parliament delegation is largely comprised of right-wing and far-right politicians from European countries, and therefore they've been handpicked perhaps to be sympathetic towards the Indian government on what has happened in Kashmir. Personally I'm a supporter of what has happened with Article 370, but I'm telling you what the opposition feels about the composition of this group. Is that something the BJP can defend? Because it's quite overwhelming. If you look at the descriptions of most of these MPs, they're all from far right or right-wing parties, Syed.
Representative of the government in the European Parliament. They are representative of their country to the European Parliament. So are we responsible of what ideology or thought process they have? We are just showcasing the truth. We are not concerned about who they are, what ideology, what belief, what faith, what religion they follow. Our concern is only one thing, that we must showcase the truth to these people, the parliamentarians, so they must go back and tell the truth to the world. There's nothing beyond that.
Okay, Gohar Gilani, is this delegation going to be in a position to go back with the truth? Are they going to be shown what's happening on the ground?
Shiv, thank you for inviting me to your show. First of all, I will take you back to the Iraq war when we first heard the term embedded journalism. So in this case, we could use the word embedded delegation. So this is an embedded delegation, which is, as you rightly pointed out, far right and right wing groups. And also, like, if everything was so normal, so why can't you have a Skype chat with them? Because then internet should also be working. So it's like day 96 when internet has been suspended in Kashmir. All the businesses, shops are closed. Kids have not been to schools. So the perception, and the point from the ground, who they are meeting, it's all officials from army, police, and chief secretary and the government officials. So they are not allowed to meet the ordinary citizens. They are not allowed to meet people from various political formations across the ideological divide, because chief ministers are in jail. So they are not allowed to meet members of the civil society because they are also in jail. And according to the AFP, over 4,000 people are in jail. So who exactly are they meeting? If it is only to promote the Indian point of view, as the guest from UK was saying, so then they should have got that briefing in New Delhi. So what was the purpose? But on the other hand, I say, if it is to be welcomed, so why not also allow foreign journalists to visit Kashmir? Why not also allow UN human rights groups to come to Kashmir, and Amnesty International and others?
You want to answer that, Syed? Yes, Amnesty and the others is an arguable thing, and the United Nations observers, of course, India has a very firm policy on that. My question is also even about Indian MPs. On the one hand, Syed, the opposition, has called this group Islamophobic, hand-picked. Gohar Gilani says this is an embedded junket, sponsored by the Indian government. My question is, this is a government that has turned back people like Rahul Gandhi and Indian MPs who tried to visit over there, and you're getting these EU MPs to visit Jammu and Kashmir. There is a problem here in terms of perception.
No, not at all. There is absolutely no problem. Let me give you two situations, and you have to understand and let the people introspect whether what we are speaking and what they have seen on the ground is something very different. The delegation, the Indian MPs did go there. What did they do? They spoke a language which the Pakistani and the Imran Khan, the Pakistani Prime Minister, has repeated time and again on the floor of United Nations. So there is two things which is important. One, that Indian delegation which went there, they have only one ambition: nafrat, Modi se nafrat, or desh se nafrat, Modi se nafrat. Now you tell me, if you are speaking a language which actually tarnishes the image of the country, is that the role of the parliamentarian? Okay. And that is what they were doing.
But Syed, the more substantive question is,
ill about the government.
The more substantive question which even Indians will want to know is this, I would echo the question that's being asked. Will this delegation, they're meeting the army, they're meeting the chief secretary, they're meeting authorities there. Are they going to be allowed to meet with citizens and civil society groups as well? Or is that something that's not on the agenda?
Well, whoever they want to meet, and I think that is being organized by the administration in Srinagar. So whatever they will feel appropriate and something which is important for these delegation they should be meeting, that will get organized. But important is that they themselves will know that the tourists are coming there, the many people who are visiting there. But the Indian delegation, they want to visit there only to give a bad name for the country and bad name for the government. I mean, that is your agenda is very different than to just to see the reality on the ground. Then it is very difficult for you to even pitch for that and to get support from the government, because your whole agenda in a situation like this, the entire country should be united, the entire parliament should be united in one line and saying that yes, we are with the country, with the government, because we are not doing anything wrong. We are doing something which should have been done long back. Even the Congress, many Congress MPs and leaders have acknowledged that.
Final question to Gohar in that case. Gohar, is there any good in this visit at all, or do you think it's all bad? I am simply asking because does it spring from the right impulse? Yes, the clampdown has happened, data is not working, people are living in hardship. But do you think the idea of trying to open up and invite people from the outside to have a look, do you think it at least springs from the right impulse, or not even that?
Well, Shiv, let's say, it's all about the intent. What is the intent? If you are not allowing, for example, your own Rahul Gandhi to visit Kashmir, I mean, there is something problem with the intent. If you're not allowing Ghulam Nabi Azad to visit Kashmir, there is problem with the intent. If you're terming all the opposition leaders in Indian mainstream, from Asaduddin Owaisi to Rahul Gandhi to Ghulam Nabi Azad to Sitaram Yechuri to whoever, that all of them are speaking. That only leaves BJP, BJP then means BJP is India and all others are not India. And, just taking on, just one small point, I throw a challenge to him. Let them allow me to, meet these delegation members. Let them, meet the journalists here.
Okay.
Let them meet the civil society coalitions here. Because most of them are in jail. So it's a PR stunt exercise.
Okay, we'll have to see how it goes. They've got a full day of agendas, but thank you, Gohar and Syed, for joining me on this particular discussion. We've got some big breaking news coming in now. Okay, news just coming in from Drabgam in Pulwama. An encounter has broken out near an examination center where terrorists have just fired on a CRPF party. 5 young students are believed to be trapped in the encounter site. School children. Terrorists have targeted school children in Drabgam in Pulwama. Terrorists have fired at an examination center from a distance. Remember, this comes just a few days after terrorists burnt down a school in Shopia. And now terrorists have fired at an examination center where exams are being conducted, and 5 students are understood to be trapped at the encounter site. I want to go straight across to India Today's Shuja ul Haq, who's with us live. Shuja, very disturbing information. Terrorists targeting an examination center in Pulwama and 5 students believed to be trapped.
Shiv, the details are sketchy. I can tell you that earlier, just about an hour back, there was an attack at the security forces exactly at the same spot. It was a joint patrol of the army and the CRPF which was fired upon. A search operation was immediately launched in this area. Yes, of course, there was an examination center also very nearby where this attack took place. So what one can assume here is that during the search operation there has been some sort of a contact that has been established. Like I said, saying that the very initial stages that these information is trickling down. Some reports suggesting that some people have been trapped there. But yes, 10th class exams were happening today. Today was the first day of those board exams, and one of the exam centers was just next to the place where this attack took place. More details will come, Shiv, and we'll be able to give them to our viewers.
Okay, so this obviously happening on the day when that EU delegation is right there. So there could be a pattern here as well, Shuja, to try and escalate tensions and highlight tensions while that international group is right there in Srinagar.
Quite possible, Shiv. We saw, in fact, yesterday also a grenade attack took place in Sopore, in which 16 civilians actually were injured.
Yes.
And now this attack happening in Shopian. So it's quite I beg your pardon, Pulwama. So it's quite possible that there are attempts being made to sort of escalate the level of militancy and violence in this regard as well. But we've been pointing this out since morning. There has been tension in the valley since morning in itself. Other than these attacks, we have also seen incidents of clashes happening.
Yes.
As far as Srinagar city and some parts of South Kashmir are concerned, at least more than 12 incidents of clashes, stone pelting have taken place, when we talk about this day in itself.
Thanks very much, Shuja. We'll keep a close track of that story. Very disturbing information. Terrorists targeting school children at an examination center. That encounter is still very much on. We'll update you as soon as we hear more from the ground.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.